Here we are on Digestive Physiology PowerPoint number 9, the last of the Digestive Physiology PowerPoints. This is going to be about the large intestine. So there you see a nice picture of the large intestine. Remember, it starts where the ileum dumps in at the ileocecal valve into the cecum. Then we have the ascending colon, the right colic flexure or hepatic flexure, the transverse colon, then the left colic or splenic flexure, then the descending colon, the sigmoid colon, the rectum, the anal canal, and the anus is the opening. Then we have the rubber band, the 10 E. coli that maintains tension on the large intestine, and it causes it to bunch up into little pouches called haustra. And then there are little pieces of adipose tissue hanging off called epiploic appendages. Here again, gross anatomy of the large intestine. We really just went over most of this, but let's look at it again. It's about 5 feet long, 2.5 inches in diameter. I don't really care about those numbers. Begins at the cecum and the appendix, the vermiform appendix. Okay. Ascending, transverse, descending. Sigmoid, shaped like an S. That's what the word means. Rectum is the straight portion. The last 2 to 3 centimeters is the anal canal. I know what to do with your opinion. Number 1, unwrap it. 2, lubricate with warm water, water-based lubricating jelly. 3, rest on your side, lift your right leg, left side, use your right hand, introduce your pen into your anal cavity. There it shows your opinion in your rectum. I recommend printing this out and carrying it with you. Sometimes it's easier rather than to try to tell people that. Just hand them a diagram. I'm sure they'll get it. And interesting prescription here. Inhale 2 puffs by mouth every 4 hours rectally. Yeah, I think that people who are doing that weird thing that people do has 2 words. No, I'm not going to go there. Which does not need a transporter to enter the epithelium of the villi. Glucose, amino acids, fatty acids, small peptides, ions. Pause the video, see if you can get the answer. Remember that we covered this the first day of class, actually. That would be fatty acids because they diffuse right through phospholipid bilayers. Microscopic anatomy of the colon or large intestine. Mucosa, simple columnar epithelium, again making mucus, keep it sliding. Anal canal has stratified squamous. I'll never ask you that. You don't have to worry about that. No circular folds or villi because there's no absorption of nutrients here. That happened in the small intestine, not in the large. Intestinal crypts produce mucus only. We don't need digestive enzymes or hormones or anything here. Just keep it sliding on the way out. Muscularis externa, muscle tone, 10 E. coli, pouches. It's all what we've talked about. Transverse and sigmoid have serosa and rest retroperitoneal. They're the parts of the large intestine that are retroperitoneal. I won't ask you that. Epiploic appendages are suspended fatty sacs. And talking about bacterial flora and intestinal gas. Bacterial flora populate large intestine. You have bunches of them there. Where did you get them? Think about that. Did you have them while you were in the fetal development stage? No. Where did they come from? They came from mom when you were born. On the way out, you passed through an area very close to where mom had some fecal bacteria, and they got onto you and they crawled into your large intestine. That's where you get them. That's why sometimes people have C. diff, and they have to wipe out their bacterial flora in the intestine. They use a family member and do a fecal transplant. Most likely you have similar bacterial flora to other members of your family. Bacteria ferment cellulose and other undigested carbs, resulting sugars are absorbed. So you do a little tiny bit of absorption, but when you ferment stuff, it produces gas, and that's where it comes from. Large intestine also does synthesize vitamins B and K. but not a whole lot is going on except to get stuff out. Flatus is the technical name for the gas. Average person produces about 500 mils a day, so that little water bottle there, that's about how much gas you produce. Most of it is just swallowed air, believe it or not. So most of it is not really very stinky. It's just air you swallowed and it comes back out again. But the breakdown of some of the, especially proteins, tend to be stinky. You produce things like hydrogen sulfide, indole, and scatol. They produce the odor. And you can buy, tablets so you don't make as much. And then, of course, unicorn farts are wonderful. Absorption and motility in the large intestine. Transit time 12 to 24 hours from the time stuff gets in till the time you excrete it. 12 to 24 hours on average. There's a lot of variation in that. Reabsorbs water and electrolytes. So remember, the small intestine reabsorbs most of the water, but the large intestine gets the last, roughly a liter, somewhere around there. Electrolytes come back in with it. Feces consists of water and solids, including bacteria, mucus, undigested fiber, fat, and sloughed epithelial cells. So I can't forget, Bacteroides fragilis, I think, accounts for like 30% of the dry weight of feces. So a lot of it is just dead bacteria. Undigested fiber. Then remember, you're digesting your small intestine, your stomach, with all the acids and stuff. Some of those cells are in there as well. So there's a lot of different stuff. Postural contractions occur every 30 minutes. Those little pouches, the 10 E. coli, peristalsis, every 30 minutes you get that contraction. Distension of a haustrum stimulates it to contract, so kind of a negative feedback there. If you stretch it, it responds by trying to contract. Mass movements occur 1 to 3 times a day. In other words, you poop on average 1 to 3 times a day. A lot of variation in there, a lot of individual difference, but that's a typical range. Triggered by gastrocolic and duodenocolic reflexes. So once again, look at the words: gastrocolic, gastro, stomach, colic, large intestine, duodenocolic, duodenum, small intestine, colic, large intestine. What that means is when food gets into your stomach and into your small intestine, signals are sent to the large intestine saying, hey, more stuff is on the way, time to make room. If you ever had a little kid, you know that that's true. They sit in the high chair. Once they start eating, you can smell it. They start pooping. That's natural. That's the reflexes. You got to get the stuff that's already in there out of the way because new stuff is coming down the pipeline. Filling of the stomach and duodenum stimulates motility. That's what I just said. Moves residue of several centimeters with each contraction, so gradually just creeps along. And by the way, for those of us who are biologists, you can tell a lot by looking at animal scat. That's the word for animal poop. If you study it a little bit, you can learn to recognize it. When I'm out hiking in the desert, I can recognize coyote versus javelina versus bobcat versus mountain lion. It's very cool. So finally, the anal canal will last 2 to 3 centimeters. They say 2 to 3. Hemorrhoids, remember, permanently distended veins, varicose veins that are either inside the rectum or on the anus, internal or external. Remember, hemorrhoids in your butt, asteroids in outer space. Don't mix those up. Rectal valves allow flatus to be passed without expelling feces. I've talked about that before. The rectal valves are there so that you can fart, but not shart. Dog shaming video here. I stole some raw yeast dough and had explosive farts and projectile diarrhea for days. Oh, I'll bet that was fun. I would make my dog just live outside until it was over. Defecation. Look at that dog in the upper right-hand corner. That's the kind of dog you need. Clean up their own mess. Stretching of the rectum stimulates defecation. So in other words, when material gets into the rectum, that stimulates the nervous impulses for defecation. Intrinsic defecation reflex via the myenteric plexus. Again, one of the 2 plexuses of the gastrointestinal system. Causes musculars to contract, internal sphincter to relax. Remember, that happens automatically. The internal anal sphincter opens automatically when feces enter the rectum. Defecation occurs only if the external anal sphincter is voluntarily relaxed. That gives you time to get someplace or you can let it go. Parasympathetic defecation reflex involves the spinal cord, so even people with spinal cord injury can still defecate, because remember, S2 to S4, where those parasympathetic splanchnic nerves are, so they can still stimulate defecation. Stretching the rectum sends sensory signals to the spinal cord, and so splanchnic nerves return signals, intensifying peristalsis. Abdominal contractions increase abdominal pressure as the levator ani muscle lifts the anal canal upwards. Feces simply drop away. I'm starting to think I may not have wiped enough. That's not a good feeling. And there actually is, for those of us who go out in the middle of nowhere, there are actually rules about where to do it. There's a book called How to Shit in the Woods. And there are right and wrong ways. I used to go hiking with this one girl, and she told me she'd pooped in a wash. And I said, "You idiot, don't ever do that. That's where water flows." So pay attention. Potty training for little kids. A large-sized toilet is not appropriate for potty training a little tiny kid. The position that kid is in right now, they're probably physically incapable of pooping. You need to get those nice little potties for kids, all right? Because otherwise you just stress them out. Don't do that to your kids. There's the squatty potty, all right? Supposedly much better way to do it. You can buy that. It's just a little footstool. But I don't know, probably $30 or something. Everybody poops. Yeah. You'd get to know somebody pretty well in that situation, wouldn't you? Here you can poop for an audience. Awesome. Yeah. Some of those are hard to imagine. Seriously? A fishing pole? A lot of countries in the world, that's the way they do it. You don't use toilet paper, that's why they have that water there. The wastebasket is just for paper towels for your hands. SpongeBob. Yeah. Okay. Holy water, holy shit. Not sure I'd sit on that. There's an interesting toilet paper dispenser. Restraint, precision, creativity, panic. I pooped today. How to poo on a date? That's my friend Sarah. She used to text me like 15 times a day, and then oftentimes in the middle of texting she'd say, "I gotta poop, I'll text you back later." I'm going, Sarah, TMI. Good friends discuss their sex lives, best friends talk about poop. Girls, you know that's true. Isn't that cute? There I am, dangling my feet over the edge of the Grand Canyon. That's a 3,000-foot drop down to the Colorado River. Let me tell you, that'll get your epinephrine flowing.